right, so, I may have stayed up really late last night to read the majority of this book here. Everyone on this train is a suspect. I tried to read it all in one sitting. I almost did, but it got too late into the night, so I had to finish it off this morning. Now, I did that because I was obsessed, absolutely adore Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. This was one of my favorite books of last year, and the sequel, I was jealous as hell for, I think it was the British copy or something like that. Somewhere in the world, this was released a couple months ago, and it just got released today for Canada, but I found it on the shelf yesterday, hence why I binged most of it last night. I was so excited for this one. Obsessed. Love this book. Like the idea of buzzwords in reviews of new, fresh, unique concept, like it's different than anything you've read before. All those are buzzwords. I don't believe any of them, except for this book. I adored it. The main character is, in the first book, just going to a family reunion due to events. I'll link the review for that first book here. But the way that the author is a character in the story, and he's writing the story after the fact and continuously speaking to the reader, pointing out clues, pointing out suspects, and his goal is to be the most reliable narrator you have ever read from. It works so well. I didn't know that having a completely 100% honest narrator who is not trying to deceive you, who is not trying to give you red herrings, who repeatedly says in the first book, I bet you're thinking this guy done it, well, just to ease that thought, no, he's not the killer. Like, he's not trying to fool you. He'll keep some things and have like a double meaning, because, like, oh, well, I learned something later that reflects back on this. But because I didn't know it at the time, I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to remember it later on. And, like, he tells you the page numbers that people will die on in this book. And it is so good. Similar effects to this one. Here, Ernest, our main character, is on a train related to his publication of the first book. So this book is a book in this book. And he's trying to come up with a fiction book. He's in a train with all these other authors and writers and publicists. And to no surprise, someone ends up murdered. And that becomes this book here that he's currently writing. Because he's having a lot of trouble coming up with fiction books. And you still have the very, very humorous tone. This is majority comedy. You still get that conversational and humorous tone, breaking of the fourth wall, and I did really enjoy this book, but for me it did not live up to the hype of the first book. The main reason for that, I think, is because the first book here, Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, while again, it is a comedy, comedy, mystery, thriller, there are some dark moments in it. Not full-on horror, but close enough to it. It's just like a single line where you're like, God, that method of death is brutal. Oh, the implications of that are really deep. That is painful for that to happen. Like, these moments that are just so dark for the tone, the contrast between the humor and that dark, almost bordering on horror brutality, was so jarring, and that little tonal switch made the humor funny because you went dark and now it's levity again. And it worked so well, the combination of the two. It had sporadic little moments of darkness. Really lacking in this book. This here is cozy mystery. The stakes are very low, not just because of the writing style, but where in the first book you have the element of not making amends to family because he didn't really do anything wrong, but wanting to reunite with his family. He'll go over bridges or something like that have been burned down in the past, and trying to protect his family members in that first book. Whereas this one, the characters are inconsequential. Like, we don't really care about any of these characters. The stakes are a lot lower. And again, one more on top of that, I did not like Ernest in this book at all. He was so likable in the first one, and I cared about him and his family, despite his family being full of murderers. But in the second one here, he was bugging me for a lot of it. Not a lot's pushing it. He done something in the beginning that made me just go, you're not very likable in this moment. And a couple little things would happen that I'm like, Why am I on your side? Why do I want to be in your head? And then he'd say or do something funny or talk to the reader. I'm like, that's why I like being in your head. Ernest also has an ego in this book, where the first book he was very much, I am in over my head, but I'm kind of all you got. We're in a snowstorm, no help can get to us, and I'm the one who cares the most about my brother and my family, and I will do everything I can. I will fight for them to prove their innocence, to find the real killer, to save people who are being targeted. He was in over his head, but he was doing his best. Whereas in this book, his opinion is, I'm the greatest detective ever, and I'm going to definitely solve this case and write a book about it. Oh, what, police officer? You don't want to hear about my theories? You only want to stick to the facts? I'm perfectly capable of solving this case. My insight is very valuable. But then you have like some lip service to survivor's guilt from the first book, and it came across as lip service. I have some other issues, but it's going to involve spoilers. So you will get the majority of what you got from the first book. The humor, the breaking of the fourth wall, the listing out of clues. We don't get page numbers of how many people die, but there are like, just so you know, I'll say the murderer's name this many times, and then every now and then he'll give like a count of how many times he said certain characters' names. But yeah, definitely more of a cozy horror book. Cozy mystery book with lower stakes and a less likable character. I only gave this one a 3 stars or 3.5 compared to the glowing 5 stars of the first book, one of my all-time favorites. But I still do 100% recommend this book, especially if you like the first book. And I want another one. I will 100% read the third book, which I am only presuming will be at a different event that I'm very much looking forward to. I'm going to go into not full-on spoilers, but more detail than I would want to know if I was reading this book. So feel free to jump away now. Nice talking to you. Talk to you later. Bye. Alright, so again, not full spoilers, but more plot details of why I didn't like Ernest in this one compared to the first book. The first incident that happened to me, to this character, was he got a 1-star review from a fellow author on the train. And he is so pissed, like nearly wants to go fist fight this man. It is an over-the-top reaction to a 1-star review of his book. And I get it's from another author and it feels more personal, especially because this author only reviewed the 4 books or, 5 books that are from authors there on the train with him. But I'm firmly in the headspace of reviews are for readers, not authors. So for an author to target someone who reviewed your book in any shape or way, to hold that kind of grudge, to react the way he did, and continuously think about it throughout the book, it just made me not like his character very much. Then you have the issue later on, which is more in the writing style, but I don't know what could have fixed it. There is a element of sexual assault in the past, so I don't want to go into too many spoilers, but the way it was handled and presented is like it's doing lip service to the way that women are exploited in the publishing industry. There's another event that also not rape related, but showing that abuse of power and taking advantage of people. And it's just like, it felt preachy, and it also felt like this wasn't something you were telling for as part of the story. It is like a checkbox that Ernest had to check off, oh, this was this character's motivation. Now that I figured out their motivation, I can move on to the next thing. It was like a plot beat that was just there to say, see, I can comment on social issues in my book. Moving on. It did not center, in my opinion, the character that had this story to tell, and to have it relegated to a side point plot, it did not sit well with me for how it was executed, but I also don't have a specific problem with it. Maybe my issue is just it was too side point, this happened to this character, which led to this, which led to this, which led to this, which caused this character or this male character to end up doing this. It wasn't their own story. It was just how it affected somebody else down the line. And I did not like that. So I know it sounds like I got a a lot of criticisms. I really don't. It's just the criticisms I have kind of were throughout the entire book, which changed the vibe of it. I still really like this one. 3.5 stars, easy read, binged it, recommend. Very excited for the third book. All right, that's all I got. I will talk to you later. Bye.